My name is Martin and I'm a specialist technical coach and mentor for open formula drivers. In this video, I'm going to share my thoughts with you on the opportunities in the sprint race and of course qualifying for the main race coming up tomorrow. If you're interested in what my thoughts are, definitely keep watching. Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you're going well. Let's start with Oscar Piastri's sprint qualifying pole lap yesterday. Give you guys a bit of context. I put the videos out as soon as I can, straight away after the session, so that I can give you guys, my thoughts and my insight straight away. That means sometimes I don't get the opportunity to comment on the pole lap, or I don't get the opportunity to comment on the telemetry. I could wait a few hours and get that, but it's like midnight, 1 a.m. for me here. So I try to get the video out as quickly as possible and then go to bed. So I have to comment now the day after on what happened the night before, if that makes sense. So Oscar's pole lap, look, it was a perfect lap, nearly perfect lap, as perfect gets. He's so comfortable and at one with this car. When I watched it, it was like, yeah, actually, if you have a look at the steering inputs, go back yesterday and have a look at the struggles that Lando was having into turn one and how he was really second guessing the turn in. And you compare that to Oscar Piastri's pole lap from yesterday, the turning is just one smooth sweep in and one smooth sweep out. He doesn't seem to have anywhere near the amount of issues that Lando's having on the entry with the steering wheel and predicting the front grip. That's my insight for you guys. And just go check out the video yesterday where I spoke about Lando's turn one. And then check out Oscar's pole lap from yesterday, his turn one, and there was a 10th just bang gone just there. The only opportunity for Oscar, like there was a bit of a slide in the mid corner of Stabilo. Stabilo catching a lot of drivers out. It caught Lewis Hamilton on the entry, caught Lewis Hamilton on the mid corner, caught Kimi Antonelli yesterday on the exit, and caught Oscar Piastri on the mid corner as well on his pole lap. Just a little slide, but the McLaren resettled so quickly, like it's a good car. So for Oscar, the solution there is diff mid. Mid is when you're not on the throttle or on the brake. It's that point just in the middle of the corner where you're waiting for the rotation, so you're going to nail the throttle. That's exit on throttle, and Lewis needs to use diff entry a lot more, but diff mid would have been the solution for Oscar. And he can definitely take that learning, it's just one click of a switch between the Fagnes Chicane and the Stabilo corner to just tighten up the diff ever so slightly because he was getting over rotation into that corner. So I know a lot of you guys were commenting what my thoughts on the pole lap were. So there they are. Okay, so the sprint race. Let's start by the tyre allocation and tyre choice. You guys know my philosophy. My philosophy has been practice on the medium because you're going to qualify and be assessed on the medium in the sprint race, and then use the medium for the sprint race as well. And that pretty much uses all of your mediums. Now you might be thinking, hang on, you've got no mediums left for the race, Martin. That's not a very good strategy. Well, hang on a minute. That's what the Haas guys did. They're walking away with points in the sprint race. We're looking at probably a lot of rain tomorrow for the race as well. So you might not even see or need that medium tire. The third thing, which I didn't mention in my video yesterday, is it doesn't mean that that medium is gone and off the table and never to be seen or used again. No, it's still there. It's just a scrub set of medium that's done one hot lap around Spa. If you need it, it's there and you can still use it. It's not like you've got no sets left. You still have mediums left. It's just that they're lightly scrubbed, having done that one hot lap on them. So that's definitely the way to go. I'm standing by that till the end. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So yeah, a lot of guys ran the mediums in the sprint. That's what we expected. But I just wanted to add that there's that extra element now. It's like they're not completely gone. They're still usable. And that's in the absolute worst case. Anyway, you're walking away with points from the sprint and it's all good. Okay, let's talk about the start and Max's initial angle and defensive posture off the line. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of this. I should call out at this point that Belgium Spa is very unique in the sense that pole position is not on the outside / racing line where it normally is. Pole position for Oscar Piastri was actually on the inside into turn one. That's kind of the first piece of context, and I'll just jump over to the whiteboard as I talk to this. The second piece of context is, of course, Max's angle across here. So this is Oscar on pole on the left. Normally that's over here on what called the racing line. Max's angle here was strange to me. I've never understood why he does this from P2. This is a play that you typically want to do from P1 and on the racing line. So let's say that it was Max on pole and Oscar second, then Max wants to shoot across. So I'll just draw here. Max would want to shoot across and get to the inside to protect and defend his lead. In this particular case, unless he's doing that to protect and defend against Lando in P3, I'm not sure. I wasn't a big fan of it. What it meant was that Max came here and then he had to go here, and he ended up just going, like, you're better off, in my opinion, just going straight and lining up your exit down the Kemmel Straight into turn 1. I don't think Max got a good run, by the way, guys, out of turn 1 and onto the Kemmel Straight. He went kind of around the outside of Oscar Piastri into turn 1. He kind of delayed when he could get on throttle. So this was like Max. He came here, he came mid-track, he went back to the outside. He went around like that, and he got a slide at that point on the exit of turn 1, and it kind of delayed his run down the Kemmel Straight. I think it goes to show how much performance that Red Bull has in the top end, given that it wasn't the cleanest launch slash turn 1 slash exit of turn 1, in my opinion. But Max was still able to get it done down the Kemmel Straight. Such is the performance of that Red Bull down the back straight with the skinny rear wing that they brought this weekend. Now, both McLarens ended up getting swallowed into Les Combes by obviously Max with Oscar, and Leclerc starting to attack Lando Norris as well. So they were a bit of a parachute down the back straight this weekend, at least in the dry weather. I wouldn't be changing anything, and we'll start to talk about that a little bit later. But I think it was a tactical error from Lando because he saw the fight between Max and Oscar, and there was obviously Oscar in front, Max behind, and then they separated. And Lando had a choice at that point. Do I follow Oscar on the inside, or do I follow Max and take the outside? I think he made a tactical error there following Oscar. He got pretty close to Oscar. They're breaking off the racing line. There's less grip there. And Leclerc was able to zip around the outside and steal that move there. So when I talk about Lando and I talk about preparation and I talk about tactical and I talk about racecraft and attack and defense, I'll jump over to the whiteboard now and show you guys the opportunity that there was for Lando. So this is just as Max is making the overtake. And like I say, Max is zooming up here and here's Lando here, and he's got a fork decision to make. Do I continue to go for the inside and stay with my friend and teammate Oscar, or do I follow Max? As I say that, the solution is always follow Max, right? What are you doing? So yeah, I feel like this was the way Lando needed to come and follow Max and grab Max's slipstream. If I just jump over to the next image, just a few frames forward, you'll see there that it's actually Leclerc that's chosen to follow Max, and it's Lando that's chosen to follow Oscar. And that is job done for Leclerc. He's got the braking grip here, and also the distance across here means that Leclerc's still got front downforce and front wing grip to be able to brake with. But because Lando's so close to Oscar, he's actually lost some of that braking grip as well. So he's got to brake gently and softly. That means Leclerc's able to attack that braking zone and get it done around the outside of Lando. That decision over here is a tactical mistake from Lando. Now, just as we wrap up what happened at turn 1 and the whole overtake with Max and everything, I can hear you guys asking now, what could Oscar have done there? Max didn't get the cleanest run through turn 1. It was pretty straightforward for Max to get through. What could Oscar have done? Was he a sitting duck? There's two answers to this one. One, and the percentages and the chances, and given where Oscar is in the championship and that he was in front of Lando and needs to collect points and everything, there's nothing Oscar could do. Just, you're going to get swallowed. Just take it and take P2 and go from there. The second answer is yes, there is something Oscar could do. It's cheeky, but it's risky. And I would only pull that card out and bring it in onto the table in play if you're desperate and you really need this win. So that card and that trick, I'll share it with you guys now, would be to delay when you exit the first corner. Delay your throttle application onto Les Combes. You're on the inside, you're leading the race, you're controlling the situation. Max was kind of halfway around the outside, and you can essentially say to the other driver, I'm not accelerating out of this corner yet because I'm not ready to and I don't feel like it. I'm just going to delay you for a fraction of a second, and you need to be ready because when I go, then you need to go as well. And that whole situation catches P2 out a little bit because they go and they realize, oh shit, I nearly hit the car in front. They get out of the throttle. There's your opportunity to escape and get off the hook. Now, I've seen this before. I've seen it in the hands of Max Verstappen against Lewis Hamilton, Abu Dhabi 2021. I'll bring up the image now, but essentially when Max went for that move and dived up the inside, there was a bit of that going on. There was a bit of a, hang on, mate, just I'm in control here. When I say go, that's when we go, and you've got to react to that. And it's me after you, just wait there and be ready. There was a bit of that going on. So I'll bring up the image now. And this was the best image I could find. This is Max's lunge for the championship. And you can see that they've both gone deep of the apex of turn 5 here. And Max, yeah, like Lewis is ready to do the whole switchback thing and get back on the throttle and start to attack down the subsequent straight. And Max is doing that whole delayed throttle introduction thing. I don't recommend it for Oscar Piastri in this case because it could be catastrophic. Max might be thinking, I need to get a good run on Oscar down to turn one. That's my only chance. I'm going to go for the early throttle, and then realize Oscar's not going and just completely like smash into him. And then Oscar's looking at no points, and we'd be saying, Oscar, that's silly. You don't need to do that. You're fighting for a championship. All of that stuff would come out. But I thought I'd share with you guys because, like, on this channel, I always just present the opportunities. Some I say you should do, some I say you shouldn't do. But that's the Oscar's only defense. If he just does a normal turn one and Max does a normal turn one, he's gone, finished, and all over down the back straight. There's nothing you can do about it. But if he delayed his throttle introduction and created a bit of an interruption into the rhythm and momentum of Max, that might have been a way to escape for lap one. And then obviously the McLaren would have been quick through the mid-sec. They would have been able to build a bit of a gap, and then it wouldn't have been a problem on lap two. Again, I'm not saying he should have done this. This is cheeky. It's in the rules because it's not brake testing. Brake testing is different. Brake testing is when you brake like in the middle or on the exit, then for sure Max is going to slam into your backside. But this one's saying I'm just going to wait and then go for the throttle. So it's legal, but it's cheeky as well. It's best served when you go for an attack and make an overtake like Max did on the inside of Lewis Hamilton, and then you delay your throttle on the way out, because in amongst the mix of that whole overtake and you brake late and he saw you and he's wide and we're both wide, and in amongst all of that, you can kind of mask the delayed throttle in amongst all of that. But when Oscar's just going through turn one in the race lead from the pole, and then Max is going through, it would be very obvious that Oscar did a delayed throttle. And so I'm not recommending it, but I'm sharing it with you as, something you can put in your pocket and maybe pull it out when you need to. So then from there, we had Max leading with all that straight line speed, and we had Oscar following, getting the aero wash and just really finding it hard to pass. That's the sort of situation that we could have been looking at in Silverstone if it was a dry race as well. I think through the S's, Copps, Maggots, Beckett's, and onto the hanger straight, if Max had the lead and it was dry in a normal race, that low downforce setup, that bid for pole, would have made, Max, exactly what you saw in the sprint race today would have happened in Silverstone. Oscar would have just been quick through the corners, but nowhere to go, stuck. And by the time they get down the straight, the Red Bull just takes off. So that was what they were thinking. Then it rained, and so that strategy went out the window. But here it was dry, and so that you could see that strategy working for them. So then we got into the race and like the early laps and Max controlling things and the top speed and Oscar. And the same question again, what could Oscar have done, if anything? Now, I was monitoring their gaps in the first couple of laps, and across the line, it was about 0.5, 0.6. And always on the exit of turn one, it was 0.7, 0.8. And I'm like, what's going on here? Is Oscar not meeting with the apex of turn one, or does he need to clean that up? But then I saw Oscar did meet with the apex of turn one, finally got a good run. And again, the gap stretched out from 0.6 to 0.8. And I'm thinking, Max is saving his battery for most of the lap when he's aero washing Oscar nice and close. And then on the exit of turn one, Max is just deploying all the battery and just stretching that 2/10 in the initial acceleration phase. Again, it shows you how important that initial acceleration phase is so you don't get a run on your opponent. Very smart from Max. Again, you guys know my thoughts about Max on this channel. He's excellent in the tactical and technical sides. And so he's deploying all the battery out of the exit of La Source. So what can Oscar do? Not much. He can only do the same thing, conserve the battery around the rest of the lap, and then just deploy it all on the exit of turn one as well to just try to run the race down into turn five as well. That's all Oscar could really do. So I think he was stuck. There was nothing he could really do at that point. Max is in control of that situation. You've handed over possession of the ball per se. So yeah, full credit to Max for taking control of that race when he had the opportunity. Now, I saw something really interesting as I'm talking about battery and battery deployment. I'm starting to watch where are the different cars harvesting then and using their deployment. Turns out both the McLaren and the Red Bull were on completely different engine modes. We call them engine modes. It's the phase of the corner where they deploy the battery around the lap. You want to deploy it when drag is low because then you're going to get the most bang for buck. So out of turn one is a great place to squeeze all of the juice. And then when you get to, say, the 200, 250, 300 kilometers, you don't want to deploy battery at that point because, there's too much drag you're fighting against. So the battery's not going to take you very far. So in that case, you want to do a bit of harvesting. So they play around with this during the lap, the teams and the engineers, and they try to calculate where are the opportunities to save battery and where's the best place to deploy it. Turns out the McLaren was doing a lot of harvesting into Doohan when the Red Bull wasn't. And I'll share that with you guys now. So here it is here. Have a look at the McLaren flashing lights. There's Oscar flashing and there's Lando flashing. And you'll notice none of the other cars in that video are flashing. So that tells me that the McLaren's doing a bit of harvesting into Doohan and has some more battery elsewhere, but they're not necessarily using it in the right place that is out of turn 1 because the gap was opening up from 0.6 to 0.8 or 0.5 to 0.7. So Max is using it out of turn 1. I'm not sure that McLaren and Oscar were fully taking advantage of their battery, but notwithstanding, and that being said, I still don't think there was much opportunity because Max was, defensive battery strategy was on point. Now we heard a radio to Oscar and it said there's an opportunity in turn 5, and I'm thinking, geez, man, these engineers just don't get it. They don't get it. What they're doing, the engineers, they've got their head stuck in the laptop, like buried deep inside the laptop, and they don't pull it out to have a look at what's going on. It's the equivalent of saying, is it raining outside? And instead of looking outside, they go on the internet, look at the radar and check if it's raining outside. Instead of just actually having a look and saying, no, it's not raining outside. Do you know what I mean? So it's analysis paralysis. So what they've seen on the data is Lando quicker than Oscar in turn 5, and then said, oh, there's an opportunity at turn 5. Lando's gaining heaps of time in turn 5. What are you doing, Oscar? Like, square it up. Forgetting that Oscar's getting this mega run down, up, right behind Max Verstappen into turn 5, losing all of his downforce at that point with the DRS, getting super close, like we spoke about when Lando got close to Oscar, how he loses downforce and doesn't have braking grip. And they're comparing that situation to Lando, who's 1.4 seconds adrift, got a bit of cleaner air and can attack the braking zone into turn 5. And they're saying, hang on, there's a delta here, there's an opportunity. There's no opportunity. This is Oscar racing Max, and he's just getting stuck behind the Red Bull with no downforce at that point because he's in the slipstream and dirty air and turbulent air. So that was a bad piece of radio, bad piece of engineering from McLaren. It shows something that I've said on this channel for a while. If you've been following since 2024 at least, I've always said McLaren are an engineering team and Red Bull are a race team. So let me share with you the telemetry and I'll show you what McLaren are seeing and I'll show you the context for such a radio message. So this is what they're seeing, right? I've just picked the lap. I've picked lap 4, Norris Piastri. Someone's looking at this live in real time at McLaren. Yeah, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but some guy, right? And he's seeing this delta go from, nearly equal to, whoa, hang on, there's a lot of time here. There's 3/10 in turn 5, Oscar. What are you doing, mate? Forgetting that, again, like I say, Oscar's right up the gearbox of Max at the end here in the opening laps, and there's nothing he can do. So that's kind of a crappy radio message. And Oscar must be thinking, oh, geez, guys, are you serious? There's no opportunity here at all. You're talking to the pole sitter who outqualified Lando by 6/10, that there's an opportunity in turn 5. Come on, have a think about it. Now, looking ahead, we need to have a look at the weather and just keep on top of what's happening there. If you've been following this weekend, it's been about 4 millimeters predicted for tomorrow. I think it went up to 4.8 or something on Friday, like as we refreshed it. And now it's showing 16 millimeters, like that's moderate to heavy rain on the way tomorrow. So that needs to be in your context for what you do with your setup and rear wing and so on. I'll share it with you guys now. So let's have a look at it. This number here, the 16 millimeters of precipitation on Sunday, is what I've been keeping an eye on. And how many blue lines here show us how much rain is on the way. I've been keeping an eye on that as well. So this has been intensifying. Like I said, it was like 4 and then 8 and then 16, something like that. So then that forms the basis and the context for what you need to do. If you're Red Bull, you can't afford to do another Silverstone. You've got to bolt a little bit of rear wing on, I feel like, and give yourself a bit of a chance in the race tomorrow. If you're McLaren, don't touch the car. It would be easy to go after the sprint and say, yeah, we're lacking so much top speed. Let's take some wing out. No, don't touch the car. Whack it on pole the same way as you did. Then it's raining. Then, you'll be all good in the rain. With that sort of speed advantage, we saw in Silverstone, right, how much the Red Bull struggled. With that sort of speed advantage, just don't make mistakes and you'll win comfortably. So that's my recommendations for what the team should be doing ahead of qualifying this afternoon. Now, as we start to talk about qualifying, interesting to see Max did put on a little bit of rear wing. So thinking along the lines of what I'm thinking with Silverstone fresh in their memory, they don't want to repeat the mistakes of last weekend or the race weekend previously, and just where Max was struggling for grip in those conditions. So they bolted a bit of wing on in the hope that when it does rain tomorrow, when that rain comes, Max can compete for some sort of position and make a decent race out of it. The spin that he had in Silverstone under the safety car was telling for me of how much rear grip or lack of rear grip that Max had in Silverstone. So I think that was the right call. So that's my first insight that we learned pre-quali. And then the Haas split their strategy. Esteban Ocon went for the low downforce setup. Ollie Behrman went for a higher downforce setup as well. So I was interested to follow both of their progress throughout the qualifying session. McLaren looked like they didn't touch it, which I think was the correct call as well. They've been generally generating high downforce this weekend, so no need to touch that for the rain tomorrow. Now in Quali 1, I jumped on board with Lando for his first run. Everything looks so much smoother into turn 1. So everything that I've been saying yesterday about, and today even, about how Lando turns into turn 1, and it's not that smooth sweeping arc of steering like Oscar's sprint pole lap. Yeah, totally different today watching Lando drive into turn 1. He was just able to time and predict the front end a lot better. So I don't know what's changed, but it's good to see that he's iterated and fixed the mistakes from yesterday. And now he's much more confident into turn 1. Very important corner, because that's like feeds you onto the Kemmel straight and yeah, can make or break your lap time, particularly with the margins are so slim. So it was one motion in, one motion out, like turn in once, turn out once, happy days. Everything looked pretty good. I'll bring up the Q1 results for you guys now, but it was Antonelli out and Hamilton out, similar to what we had yesterday. So these are the Q1 results on the screen in front of you. And it was topped this one by Norris. So 41.0 and then Piastri's 41.2. And that combined with what I saw with the steering at turn 1, like, yeah, signs of life here for Lando, and he's starting to turn that around at this point. So Hamilton out with that lap time deleted meant that, you know, he had to refer to his next best lap, which was obviously not good enough. The lap time that got deleted put him P7, I believe, just behind his teammate Charles Leclerc, so 0.6 off. So the pace was there. It's just that it was a mistake for Hamilton, and Antonelli a mistake as well. So 2 insights for you guys here. What we said yesterday about Hamilton, Antonelli out just generally due to mistakes and not having anything to do with the medium was true. There's mistakes in these guys this weekend. The other thing I said was like, I thought there was more pace in these 2 cars, Alonso and Stroll, and I said they were like 14, 15 yesterday, and I was like, there's more pace in that Aston Martin. That's not true. There's no more pace in that car as well. And look, Colapinto is just struggling. What do we do with him at this point? Like, the weekend's just been a disaster. He's starting on the hard and then the soft and then bad qualifying, starting on the pit lane in the sprint with the soft tire, went nowhere, out in Q1. Yeah, this is not good. I don't know where to with Franco from here. I mean, there's too much work to do at this point. Whether or not you replace him for Jack Doohan at this point, I'm not sure. And this is the whole Red Bull thing. Do you just continue to sub in drivers without the appropriate coaching and mentoring coming in? Because if not, then you're just going to chew through drivers. It's going to be the same story as the Red Bull second seat. It's going to be the Sonodas and the Lawsons and the Checos and Albons, and it's going to be all of that, because what's happening, I'll just come back to me for a sec. What's happening is, like in that case with the second Red Bull seat, they're just chucking drivers in and it's either sink or swim situation. You're either going to work or not. And without the coaching and mentoring and time required for someone young boy, in this case, young man, to go in, then it's never going to work. So this is, I'm just thinking out loud here. Do you sub him out and chuck Jack Doohan again? It's back to that thing, isn't it? You're just chucking drivers in or out without the correct coaching. And that's what I think needs to be done. If you're looking for that diamond in the rough, mate, they come along like they come along once in a generation. You Schumachers, Sennas, Verstappens, and prime Hamiltons. I say prime because he's struggling at the moment. Yeah, they're once in a generation driver. For the rest of it, you got to work your backside off and get the right people in place to help nurture talent rather than, yeah, just be blessed with talent. Your Q2 results are on the screen in front of you. Piastri got this one just slightly, 40.6, Lando 40.7. So this is where I'm starting to think, now Oscar's under pressure now. Lando's here today. He's present. He's got the fastest middle sector, and Oscar didn't have any of the fastest sectors. And like I say, at this point, it's like, yeah, it's game on. I wanted to call out the Haas drivers as well. We spoke today and yesterday about them practicing on the medium, understanding it, executing an awesome sprint quali, taking points, stealing points from the sprint race, And then here they are today on the soft compound tire P11, P12. That tells me that they took advantage of that whole sprint situation when all the other teams were sleeping, mucking around on hards and whatever. This is maybe a more accurate representation of at least one of the cars. Behrman had a little bit more lap time in him because I think he was blocked, one of the Red Bulls at turn one. He didn't quite open the lap the way he wanted to. But nevertheless, you know, if, should have, could have, would have, if, buts, whens, whatever, they're here, they're P11, P12. And then that's totally different to what we saw yesterday with them in the sprint. So I think the advantage of them having the knowledge on the medium is now taken away because we're qualifying on the soft compound tire. A difference again with the Williams drivers, Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. Sainz now out. Gasly P13, that's the best he could do. But I think consistently, Bortoleto out qualifying Hulkenberg this weekend. So that's a shout out to Gabby Bortoleto for a good job. Also a shout out to Lawson. I feel like he's been hanging on to Hadjar this weekend, and that is a positive for me because, you know, Hadjar's good, right? At the moment we can say he's good because he's strung together a lot of good races. So for Hadjar to be there or thereabouts, like I said yesterday, I think when he was a 10th off and got knocked out in Q2, I'm like, that's fine. You're a 10th off. It's all good. So that's a good result for Lawson. He should be super happy around a track like Belgium to be hanging on to Hadjar in the same sort of conversation. And Tsunoda looks present this weekend as well. He's been missing from pretty much since he joined Red Bull in that car. So for him to be present this weekend, I think you should take the positives and silver linings from that as well. Now, here's an interesting insight for you guys. George Russell coming through Blanchimont, which is the fast left-hander just before the final chicane, making a brake balance adjustment change on the brake balance rotary of his steering wheel, trying to push it forward a few clicks for heavy braking, straight line braking into the final chicane. Now, a couple of insights for you guys about that whole situation. Firstly, that's what you want to be doing into the final chicane. Whenever it's A, high downforce, which it is because you're coming in there at bloody 300 kilometers per hour, and B, the steering wheel is straight into a heavy braking zone, yeah, brake balance has to go forward. This is basics at this point, guys. So George did that, correct, bang. Lewis didn't do that, and that's why he was locking the rears into that corner yesterday, which that mistake that he got kicked out in SQ1. So that is the correct change. Now, I've spoken for a while. You guys may have seen my video, the hidden tech of an F1 steering wheel explained, and I'll bring up the pictures of it on the screen in front of you for a second. But I absolutely hate and despise brake balance as a rotary tool. And the pictures I'm going to show you highlight this to you, because with the brake balance buttons tools, you can push it forward, bang, 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 3 clicks, for example, and that's half, one and a half. You know exactly what you're getting. With a rotary, it's a pain in the backside to find how much you're changing it by. It's a lot more intuitive to go bang, 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 1, 2, 3, than it is to find 3 little clicks on this rotary. I'll bring up the pictures now and I'll demonstrate to you the problem, because George had a few goes at trying to find the brake balance that he wanted. That's not ideal. I'll show it to you guys now. So this was George's left thumb reaching down to this rotary here on the entry to Blanchimont, which is the final sector, before the final chicane, final part of the lap. So this here is the brake balance rotary tool. How do I know that? Well, because I've studied this wheel a lot, and again, you should check out that video. I'll leave a link in the description to it. But he did it before Blanchimont. And then if I go next shot, on the exit of Blanchimont, he's still at it. And then it flashes up here 5. So I know his brake balance is in the 50s. Now, let me share with you the actual Mercedes steering wheel that George has. This is the steering wheel that George is using, at least to my knowledge. So the one below the neutral button over here, BBAL, that's the rotary. And I'm saying that does not need to be a rotary at all. Now, I've had a look at this steering wheel in detail. I spent a weekend redesigning the whole steering wheel and saying things like your pit confirm button and your pit lane speed limiter button are in prime real estate positions. The upper right thumb is my attacking hand, right hand upshifting attacking hand. And these are in prime positions. And these are buttons that you don't use very often. You might use that once or twice in a race, depending on if it's 1 stop or 2 stop. Get rid of those buttons, put them down here somewhere, and then you've got a BB minus button here as well. That's not intuitive. That's not promoting a driver to be able to use the tools, A. And it's a pain in the backside when you do go to use them, like particularly this BBAL Rotary, because you can't feel what's going on. So I've redesigned this whole steering wheel from the perspective of a driver, and I've come up with this. So I've changed it. I got my BB minus here and my BB plus here. I've got all my attacking tools here, my push to pass and my DRS and my upshift here as well, and on throttle differential. I've got my brake migration and HPP here. I've got engine braking plus, engine braking minus, buttons that you're going to want to use frequently corner to corner. That's rotation tools, brake balance, engine braking, brake migration. They need to be on the thumbs, you know, they need to be handy. And all the other pit confirm and pit lane speed limiter stuff, I'm happy cruising down the pit lane to just take my hand off the wheel and push that button once. That's not going to cost me lap time. So if Mercedes saw that video and implemented this, I'm sure George would be a much happier driver. Again, I'll link the video in the description below, and it talks to what all of these tools do and mean. But given that George went for that once and then was fumbling around to find what the setting he wanted, he went for it twice. Yeah, this is nothing that I don't already know about the Mercedes steering wheel. And a lot of steering wheels are like this in F1. And I think the problem is why it's like this is because the drivers don't necessarily know what they want, even though they think they know what they want. So you need to come in with philosophies that help you design the wheel. My philosophies are my right hand is my attacking hand. I want all my attacking tools on the right. My left hand is my braking, downshifting, defending, decreasing hand. So I want all of that on my left. And then the upper section where the thumbs are is all my prime real estate. That's where I want easy to access, very important lower lap time buttons. And then down the bottom is my least popular real estate. That's where I just want everything else. And that forms the basis for how I design my steering wheel. So go check that video out. Q3 results are on the screen in front of you. Pole position for Lando Norris. Congrats, Lando, man. That's a good weekend turnaround. He should be super happy with that to be able to dig himself out of trouble from what looked like a difficult weekend so far. Like 6/10 off yesterday was a hammering. This is a good turnaround. Now, the whole 40.5 thing, again, Piastri set that lap record thing yesterday, 40.5 as well. So that's it, mate. They're on the pace. That's kind of all she wrote. I thought Piastri with I think he was down 0.04, so that's 400ths in the second sector. I was like, he can do this because I saw he did a mad braking into the Chinese hairpin, and I thought he can do like a mega braking into the final chicane as well. Yeah, not to be, but look, with the rain tomorrow and everything, this is interesting and good signs for Lando and McLaren and whatever. But I still think a massive chapter is going to be written tomorrow in the rain, visibility, mistakes. Spa's actually a really dangerous track as well in the wet. I'd hate to say it, but it is. And I just think that, yeah, this is just watch this space because this is going to be chaos. A good job by Leclerc. I think with the whole Ferrari upgrade situation, the new rear suspension, he came out straight away and said, yep, it does exactly what we wanted it to do. It feels better and it's quicker. It's just that these guys are super quick this weekend. He's been rewarded for that, for being able to react and respond and identify that change and work with that change super quickly. So this is a good effort from Charles. He's showing his quality here. Max made a mistake at turn 1, didn't he? He just struggled to get the throttle down, and that's why his first sector was 30 seconds when all those guys around him are 29.9, 29.9, 29.8, 29.8, 29.7. Max lost about 2-3 tenths there. He probably would have been in front of Leclerc, I'd say. Yeah, I don't think he would have taken on the McLarens, not with that rear wing that he changed. But yeah, this is a good job also by Albon as well. Even Russell, I don't think that car's got great capability this weekend. So yeah, congrats to all the top 10. Let's jump into the telemetry. I'm curious to see what's going on with Norris and Piastri and where the lap time was won and lost. Alrighty, hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. This will be super interesting. Wow, there's some big delta fluctuations here. There's a point at which Norris is 2 tenths ahead. There's a point at this lap in which Oscar Piastri is ahead as well. So it was up and down the whole way, really interesting. Okay, so look, to analyze this properly, let's start at the track dominance. So Lando got the pole. He's in orange. Anytime this track is in orange, it's in Lando's favor. Anytime it's in white, it's in Oscar's favor. So look, I don't see anything insightful apart from it looks like the straights are mostly orange. And in some places, there's some white corners as well. So it is very close, but it looks like, for example, Lando got a great blast out of down the back straight and down the pit straight and also at the top of Eau Rouge, but this is all very minimal. And if you look at the delta in those areas, there's not much happening. So that's not the story there. So we just need to look at the delta therefore and see where the big jumps and spikes are. So when you see a jump like this, but then a decline back again, you know, you've got to look at, yeah, it's time on entry, but then it's being lost again on exit. And you see this here as well, time on entry and lost on exit. So this is Piastri getting some decent exits here and starting to pull some lap time back, particularly this one here. You got a decent run through turn 9 and on the way to Pouon, yeah, as you can see there, and then lost it in the Fagnes Chicane. I feel like that's where the lap was lost, if I have to be honest, because he was up nearly a tenth before the Fagnes Chicane and then lost it there, and that was it. It was, you know, hard to claw back thereafter, to be honest. So the Fagnes Chicane is my analysis piece. You see it's highlighted orange just in the middle there. I think Lando just killed him there and that was it. Let's have a look at that and zoom in. So the key with the Fagnes Chicane, there's a direction change in the middle of it. And it's really important that for a fraction of a second, you don't go from steering right to steering left. We speak about that all the time on this channel. You don't want that quick direction change with your hands. Ask the car, no, go that way. No, go that way. Car doesn't like that responsive. It's got to be warned. Go that way. Okay, start to prepare to come this way and now go this way. The car likes that sort of language. So how you do that is in the middle of the corner, you just open your hands a little bit, let the weight settle and rebalance, and then go again. Also important, you don't touch the curbs at all in this Fagnes chicane. This is a high-speed chicane. If I just show the minimum speeds here, you're talking high ones, yeah, 170 to 190 as a minimum. But for the most part of it, you're traveling through here around 200 kilometers per hour. So it's a high-speed chicane, no curbs. The curbs are going to upset the balance of the car. You don't want to touch any of it. So it's all about just really the line. You just got to cut nice and smooth and carry speed in. And as I say those words, you see this here, this speed trace here. Lando's carried so much speed into the first part, and that's when the delta jumps. And the rest of it is fine. So Lando's probably broken a touch later if we see. Oh no, he's broken earlier and softer. Okay, beautiful. So he's broken earlier, softer, and just kept the car's speed, like floated the car into the corner beautifully. Piastri slightly later, slightly harder. You can see that by the short white braking there. It's on later and then it's off earlier as well. And I think Lando's it's a softer braking and he's rolled the car into turn 12 beautifully. And there's some points in this corner where, you know, Lando's carrying 248 in and Oscar's carrying 226 in. That's more than 20 Ks that Lando's carried in. So he's really raised the chips on the entry to the Fagnes chicane. That's my insight for you guys and where I think this lap was won with Lando. Looking ahead to the race tomorrow, it's rainy, right? You got to go back to the Thursday live stream because I did some mad comparisons on different wet lines into turn 1, Hamilton's pole lap, Verstappen's pole lap, options in the Fagnes chicane, options at turn 1. I'll bring them up just quickly now, but I recommend that you go back to the live stream and check that out. So this was part of the analysis, was like George's braking into turn 1, George's early turn into turn 1. Very different to what Max was doing, trying to miss turn 1. Lewis's lock up here with the wheels. There was a lot of insight there for you guys. And here was the different lines on the entry to turn 8, Brussels, different lines into Pouon. And this was the most interesting shot for me. This was Max taking a very short corner around the outside of Fagnes and Lewis just diving in with an early turn in into the Fagnes chicane as well. So I definitely recommend go and check that out because that is, you know, we spoke about that for about 20 minutes, half an hour. That's going to be the story of tomorrow. Really important, you know, the right parts of the racetrack. Again, I always come back to line. Line is everything because line is like steering wheel and steering wheel is everything. So that's where the opportunities are going to be. It's going to be in the racing line. And it's also going to be one of search for water, look after your intermediate tires, extend your stints, that kind of thing. So the intermediates, it's very easy to burn the rears, particularly around here. So I think protecting your rears and searching for water and really just pushing, yes, on the right lines, but always having that in mind, like don't spin up the rears, don't spin up the rears, don't spin up the rears. That's going to be super important tomorrow as well. Let me know your thoughts, what you think is going to be important tomorrow. If you had a question or comment, drop it down below in the comment section and join the conversation. And I'll see you guys after the race tomorrow. Cheers.